Welcome to Sudz Shotz, a look, taste, and tour of some of the coolest and most contemporary breweries and distilleries across North America and beyond, and also the people and the stories behind them. Within this program, we will hopefully demystify spirits and illustrate just how prevalent and universal distilling has become as that area continues to blossom in key markets across the North American continent. That's the shots part of the equation. The beer boom, as we have been witness to, is simply legendary, and Sudz continues to blow up with new and inventive styles and flavor profiles, and an ever-growing number of beer areas, environments, and communities continue to pop as we speak. If it's brewed, distilled, poured, shaken, or stirred, we've got it covered right here on Sudz Shotz. Welcome to Sudz Shotz, the program where we introduce you to the brewers, the distillers, and the folks behind the everyday titles and specialty brands in the area of craft beer and spirits. Located on Powell Street in East Vancouver's Port District, Odd Society combines old world distilling traditions with new world ingredients and ingenuity to create a family of spirits including whiskey, vodka, and gin. Founder and distiller Gordon Glanz holds a Master of Science in Brewing and Distilling from Edinburgh, Scotland, where he experimented with distilling whiskey using raw grain and commercial enzymes. 2013, you opened Odd Society. What was the spirit world like in 2013?
It was not a lot happening in Canada, but a lot happening in the US. And that was sort of the inspiration for us, I had done distilling in high school and started watching what was going on in the US and said, hey, we can do that here. And it was just before the big wave.
When you say distilling in high school, though, basically you're talking about having a still, correct?
Yes, so what happened in our house was my parents were immigrants from Europe, and for some reason my mother thought that drinking water in Edmonton wasn't up to snuff. So she bought a small still and she would distill our drinking water. And so then I had three brothers, and so we were making beer and wine, and one day around high school age we spied the water distiller and said, hey, why don't we distill that? So we started doing that.
Were there immediate believers? Did people, because you're talking 2013,
Right.
You're opening up a distillery as craft beer is booming.
Yes.
Were people thinking, Gordon, what are you doing?
There might have been a few people. It was just, I didn't do that much consulting with different people. It was sort of just a homegrown thing. I want to do this. And so I actually dragged my wife to Scotland, so the year before, or about 2 years before, and studied distillation in Scotland, and then came back and started setting up.
I used to say craft beer is the new wine. Is it fair to say distilled spirits is the new craft beer in terms of like the explosion in the industry?
I guess it would be fair. It's happening more and more, and like when these guys started out here, there wasn't anybody else. Yeah, like it's definitely changing, and I think the culture around it's changing as well, as far as people appreciating a local spirit.
The industry term in craft beer is the collab, and you're actually doing that. So you're mixing beer and spirits. How does that work out?
It's interesting because we got to work around the laws of being a craft distillery, and that entails using 100% BC fermentables. And so with beer, you've got your options of all sorts of malts from everywhere. You can get, pale malt from England. You can get chocolate roasted malt. But basically anything that we use has to be grown in BC.
Do you find that the aging process obviously is different for different spirits, and in order to be called Canadian whiskey, it's got to be 3 years to the day. What is the shortest turnaround time on a spirit?
I guess vodka, we pump it through the column in the back there and do the stripping run over 2 days. And then fermentation's about 3 days, and then we'll do 2 runs of hearts out of it, and so 7 days before we can put it in a bottle.
Does every spirit age, and is there a noticeable improvement in taste in every type of spirit? Certainly whiskey, we know of that. We know of rum, but does gin age? Does vodka age?
Well, we do both an aged vodka and an aged gin, but their time aging is in the barrel, and that's where you're getting the biggest results.
All right, so we're doing 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice. Got the Odd Society Bittersweet Vermouth, some of our creme de cassis, and our wallflower gin. Szechuan bitters is what this is. And this is a vegan foamer used instead of egg whites, made here in Vancouver by Miss Better's Bitters. Give it a nice healthy dash. Zing. Put this up here. Got it. Garnish. Fit in here. Just a little pinch of dried orange zest on top. There we are, and this is the Gentleman's Sour.
As for the name Odd Society, they say it reflects their interest to use their spirits and distillery as a way to bring together a diverse collection of creative and unique people. In other words, they wanted to make a home where you could feel comfortable revealing your inner oddness. Coming up on Sudz Shotz, it originated with an old 1940s era red truck and a throwback in philosophy to a simpler time. It has since grown to a whole fleet of red trucks, and the brand is now international. That's next. Welcome back to Sudz Shotz. It all started with a single red truck, an old 1946 Dodge known as Old Weird Harold, and in the early days it could be found patrolling the streets of Vancouver, dropping off kegs of lager and ale to the Toronto Blue Jays Single A affiliate, the Vancouver Canadians. Well, the fleet has since expanded, but the mission statement of Red Truck Brewing remains and harkens back to a simpler time.
Red Truck Beer Company started on the North Shore in 2005. We were a small brewery with a capacity of about 3,500 hectoliters. Over time, as we grew our brands, we knew that we were eventually going to build the brewery here just off of East 2nd Avenue. And so we built this beautiful facility right from scratch. The building was built to look like a 50 styles warehouse. And we bought all new packaging equipment, brand new brew house. Yeah, we have that red truck hanging there. Our owner said to me one day when we were in construction, he was like, you know what, I want to hang a truck. And I was like, where do you want to hang it? And he was like, I want to hang it right in the middle of the brewery. So I was like, okay. So the next morning he came to me and said, I bought a truck. I go, where did you get it? He goes, I got it online. So I was like, great, I wonder what this truck's going to look like. Sure enough, we had a 1960 Dodge Power Wagon show up, flat deck, beautiful looking truck. So we hung it up, and there it is. So it's a showpiece, and you know what? When it comes to branding, it's all about trucks. And so we have a lot of different trucks. We have some old trucks, we have some newer trucks, delivery style trucks and whatnot. So yeah, we're all about trucks and everything that goes along with trucks. The property that we're on has a lot of history to it. Back in the day, Brewery Creek actually went right through the city of Vancouver. There was a lot of different breweries on Brewery Creek. In fact, Lion Brewery was just kitty corner to where we're at. This is the original site of Vancouver Brewery. Like, we didn't know that. False Creek actually used to come right up to the back of our building, and so the mouth of Brewery Creek was just over here, as I said, to the east of our building.
Justin, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here with us.
Great to have you here.
So Justin, brewing and brewing operations have changed a lot over the years. No longer is it a guessing game with valves and bags of malt. I see here you have a whole operation automated, or mostly automated. What can you tell us about the systems you have here at Red Truck?
We've got a fairly new visualization and control software that we use. It allows us to basically monitor anything that's happening in the brew house at any given time. Each vessel from the brew house, for example, has got its own visualization. It shows you what exactly is happening in there.
Well, let's go take a look at some of the operations you have here. Now, this is quite an impressive facility you have here.
Yeah, this is our packaging area. We've got our can line right here and then our bottle line on the other side. We only run one of the lines at a time. We've only got one beer line that services the fillers, so we can only do a single at a time. And also there's common pieces of equipment. So our depalletizer here does either cans or bottles, and our palletizing area is done by hand here, and you can only physically do one at a time.
Now, as we were mentioning, storage is often an issue, especially with a lot of breweries, especially with a lot of growing breweries.
Yeah, while it seems like we're a very large facility, we've got some storage issues, as you can see here. So these are mixer bottles that we're going to be putting together by hand, and that's going to be coming up next Monday.
Okay, let's go see what some of this equipment can do.
All right.
So Justin, tell me about these gigantic tanks you have in here.
Yeah, these are our fermenters, and so these are 5 brew fermenters. Each brew for us is 60 hectoliters, so 6,000 liters.
Okay.
So this is a 30,000 liter tank.
Wow.
We ferment the beer in here and then transfer it over to packaging.
Now, how many fermenters do you have total, and how much capacity are you able to actually brew in this
We have
facility?
16 fermenters like this, and capacity is sort of driven seasonally around there.
Fair enough. This looks amazing, but I'd rather see the beer out of the tanks. What can you tell me about the canning line? Should we go take a look?
Yeah.
All right. So Justin, this looks like a pretty impressive piece of technology.
Yeah.
For canning, how many cans per minute are you able to do in a canning run, or what does an average canning run look like for Red Truck?
We can do 160 cans a minute, and typically we would probably do 7 hours of canning once a week.
Once per week. And do you find that meets up with the demand, or like you were
It
saying,
meets up
seasonally?
the demand right now, and hopefully in the summer we'll be doing this 2 or 3 times a week.
What can you tell us about coming down the line for Red Truck?
We just have done a incredibly cool packaging and design change. Same fantastic beer that's always been, but a new design on all of our packaging. But I think you'll find that we're going to do a couple of cool things this summer.
So Red Truck USA, we decided that we were starting to look at selling beer in the US. We wanted to go down and sell some beer down there. Every distributor that I talked to down there was like, yeah, you know what, there's enough craft breweries down here. I don't think we really need to bring beer in from Canada. So I went to our owner and I said, I don't know if this is gonna work, just going across the line. And he was like, okay, then you know what, let's build a place in the US. So we went into Colorado, which is really a hotbed of craft beer, along with Oregon and Washington State. But we went there and there just happened to be a brewery for sale. So we bought a brewery there. We bought all the assets. We didn't buy any of their branding or anything. We bought the assets in the building, and we decided that this is going to be the new home of Red Truck, if you want to call it Red Truck USA. So now we're building. We've taken the building, the restaurant. We're now turning it into the truck stop diner with what you see here, what we have on East First Avenue. And yeah, we're getting ramped up down there and really looking forward to getting that going down there. So. We are putting a brew pub and a brew pub with restaurant in the Rhino district in Denver. So that's coming up next after we get the brewery going in Fort Collins. So it's an exciting time for Red Truck, and we're really looking forward to the future. So a lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and we're just going to keep it going.
Red Truck Beer in Fort Collins, Colorado, opened for business in 2018, unveiling a list showcasing not only Red Truck's 4 flagship beers, but 14 other rotators, seasonal releases, and taps specific to the Fort Collins area. And like the Red Truck operation in Vancouver, Fort Collins also features a fleet of vintage red trucks and a calendar of live music and community events. Up next, Dublin, Ireland, the home of the world's best-selling Irish whiskey. Welcome back to Sudz Shotz. Well, it's not the best-selling brand of whiskey worldwide, but in the area of Irish whiskey, it is the industry standard. The origins of Jameson date back to 1780, when a Scottish lawyer named John Jameson married Margaret Haig, a sister of the Haig brothers, who were distillers. They moved to Dublin to manage that city's Bow Street Distillery near the River Liffey, and we had the chance recently to tour the facility. Carl with a K. Nice to meet you, man.
Jay, how's it going? Are you
Real
well?
good, real good. Is there a more iconic brand associated with whiskey than Jameson?
Probably not an Irish whiskey anyway. It's definitely synonymous with Irish whiskey. When you think Irish whiskey, you think of Jameson.
What was your introduction to the spirit?
Probably with my father. Whenever I turned 18, the legal age to drink in Ireland's 18, so he brought me for a few pints and he was like, right, now we finish off the night, and he introduced me to a Jameson neat, and he was like, this is the only way you're allowed to drink it. Yes, I've learned different things.
Absolutely. But, yeah. So that's kind of an Irish rite of passage then?
Well, it was definitely my rite of passage. I can't speak for the entire country, but I'd say it definitely is a rite of passage for some.
The history of Jameson starts what year?
1780, when John Jameson set up shop here.
1780, and again, in terms of longevity, you're still nailing it, you're still killing it.
Yeah.
What kind of volume do you do out of Ireland alone?
I know we do about 6.9 million. Last year we done 6.9 million cases. There's 12 bottles in a case, so you can do the math on that. So significant a lot, but we are about 4 out of every 5 bottles that leaves this island will be a bottle of Jameson original.
Do you ever deal with somebody that walks in not thinking they like whiskey, but that they see the story and they walk out
all
loving
the
it?
time,
Yeah.
all the time. Well, I get a lot of people on my tours that have never even tried whiskey before, and I see it's amazing seeing their faces light up when they try it and they realise I've been missing out. I can't believe I'm getting to try this for the first time only now. You know, so yeah, that does happen quite a bit.
Now, one final question, Carl. Do you find it sacrilegious, even though if you buy a spirit, you're allowed to do whatever you want with it, drink it whatever which way you want, if you want to put Coca-Cola in that, does that bother you when you see somebody not drinking it in its purest form?
I think everybody's different. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody even gets different flavors off of one whiskey. You know what I mean? That's why tasting flavors and stuff like that. There's so many. You get a bottle of wine, on the back of that bottle of wine, there's about 25 fruits on it. You're only not going to be able to taste all those fruits. So it's also very subjective. But no, I don't think it's sacrilegious. I think people should enjoy the spirit the way they want it. Personally, I drink mine neat, no rocks, no nothing, but everybody's different.
Yes. Cool. Thank you. The barrel aging process of fine whiskey does not come without heartbreak, as evaporation plays a significant role. The longer the process takes, in fact, it's estimated that some 10,000 bottles worth of whiskey a day evaporate into what's known as the Angel's Share. And if you're wondering, Jameson is the best-selling Irish whiskey in the world, and the United States is the biggest consumer of the spirit. Coming up on Sudz Shotz, it's the little West Coast spirit company that grew and grew and continues to grow all across Canada on land and now in the air. Welcome back to Sudz Shotz. Located in Delta, BC, Goodrich & Williams is a fiercely independent and proud Canadian distillery that boasts a portfolio that contains Sid's handcrafted vodka, the best-selling craft vodka in Canada, Neutral Vodka, the internationally award-winning premium vodka, and Tempo Gin, the best-selling craft gin on the West Coast. That has since spun off into Sid's Something Else and Neutral Vodka Soda, virtually dominating the Canadian refreshed beverage category. Headquartered on Canada's West Coast, we met up with Adam McDonald of Goodrich & Williams Distilling.
I think there's been so many years where people were, their only choices were these huge, mega international brands. They're kind of big faceless entities. Now all of a sudden they had an opportunity to buy a locally produced spirit where they could actually say, oh, I know where the distillery is. I've seen the still. I've actually met Sid. So I think that was a great beginning for us. And I think right away we kind of knew we were onto something.
The market at the time was very beer heavy. Craft beer was certainly blowing up in various markets across the country. We'd seen what had happened with the Canadian wine industry. Was there any doubt that spirits was the next logical follower?
I don't think so. I think the BC government in 2013 opening up that craft distilling cottage industry really signaled the fact that it was the next obvious step. It was going to come. I think our big global brand competitors out there foresaw that. They saw what happened to the beer industry, and I think they anticipated that this craft movement was definitely on its way. And where better to start than in BC, where we were really kind of the forefront of the beer and wine industry. I think it makes sense that we're the forefront of the craft spirit industry as well.
The parent spirit brands, it's a very unique way to market versus the old days because the consumers are so interested in authenticity now and stories, and they all have their own story. So in many ways, the vodkas and the gins are kind of kind of hybrids between spirits and wines because people want to know about Sid. They want to know about Music Heals and Tempo and how we get behind that. And with the Bitter House brands, for example, as you know them well, they've got a lot of story to them. So I could say that it's kind of a hybrid of the categories. But the main point to say in all the marketing efforts for these is about authenticity, like getting to know where we're made, coming to see the space, talking about the actual physical distillers. Ready to drink is about convenience, right? So it's for someone who wants to go to, of course, it's more portable and it's easier to chill, but they want to be able to have it on the go and not have to fumble and mix. And Neutral Vodka Soda markets very much like, it's a canned cocktail, right? But it also markets very much like a beer because of the convenience factor. It's complementary to things that have a bit more kind of logistical parts, like a bottle and a glass, but it's for different occasions, right? I mean, my favorite thing to do is take my favorite Waterford Crystal, 3 cubes, and spirit of my choice.
So I think we really need to take care of our own backyard first. Canada is just really catching on nationally to this whole craft movement. I think there's a lot of potential growth for Canada first, and then I think eventually we certainly will look south of the border and potentially overseas as well. There's a big interest in craft distilling in the UK, for example. I think there's this great movement of return to craft cocktails. We've got these beautiful craft products. How do you make a craft cocktail if you're not using craft spirits and vodkas and gins and whiskeys and all these things that with unique flavors and mixed with unique ingredients to make a one-of-a-kind cocktail?
Neutral Vodka Soda is now being served on all Air Canada flights, and Goodrich and Williams are also in the whiskey market, and we'll learn more about that on a future episode. And that is a wrap for Sudz Shotz, where we showcase all that's good in a bottle, a can, a keg, or a growler. Please remember to always plan a safe ride home and drink responsibly. We'll see you next time.